The foundation for the upbuilding of a new humanity lies in these simple words of Jesus. Keep the heart of your thoughts pure. By so doing, you will bring peace and be happy. On this same profound statement lies the sacred key to success and prosperity. My name is Francis Uche. In this video, I will be talking about possessed spirits. How a human being in flesh and blood, living here on earth, can be possessed by an alien, bodiless evil spirit in order to make himself felt in an earthly manner. I will also explain the possible solutions to these absurdities and abnormalities. But before I do all this, I would like to make a clear distinction between demons and the possessed spirits. In demons, there is absolutely nothing like an alien spirit, because demons are the evil thoughts of human beings that have taken on form in the realm of thought forms. But in possessed, there must and always will be an alien spirit, someone who has died and is no longer with his physical body, but who still wants to make himself felt in an earthly manner. In possessed, the alien spirit must make use of the physical body of someone who is still alive here on earth in order to carry out his nefarious and evil activities. In possessed, the possessed human being must always carry out the activities by himself. Activities like knocking, throwing things, hitting himself, giving himself some body injuries, scratching, talking in different voices and languages, and irrationally all the time. In possessed, the first point of attack is always the brain. This is why there is so much strenuous activities in the brain, leading to overstretched nerves and confusion. And because of this, most possessed human beings are wrongly tagged, mentally deranged and insane, and are wrongly kept and confined in mental house known as lunatic asylum. Medical experts and some psychiatrists have said that most of these cases cannot be explained based on any medical and psychiatric pathology. This goes to confirm why they are completely sane upstairs. Nothing is absolutely wrong with their brain. The only challenge is that there are two spirits fighting over one brain in order to impress their volitions. In possessed, the alien spirit might even want to encroach further to other parts of the body, may even want to push aside the original soul inhabiting the body. This is when you have double personality, double identity, double life, and may even be pushed to commit suicide. They didn't do this because they wanted to, but they were pushed by these evil and alien spirits. There is another case. This case is not associated with either demons or possessed spirits. It is a case of an earthbound soul that has been living in a house for how long only God knows. By the way, who is an earthbound spirit? An earthbound soul is that soul whose power and inclination towards material and earthly things overrides his desire for spiritual knowledge and ascent. And so when such a human being dies, his soul will be earthbound. I am not talking about earthbound souls today. And so in this particular case I'm about to explain now, this earthbound soul has been living in this house for how long only God knows. But fortunately or unfortunately, a new tenant enters this house with his family. And all of a sudden, they started to witness some strange things in the house. Some spookish activities like moving the table, lifting objects and throwing objects, opening the doors. And this happens especially when their little daughter comes into the living room. And they immediately tagged their little daughter as being demonically possessed, which in reality is very wrong. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this girl. She is innocent of the spurious allegations leveled against her. She has no business with either demons or possessed spirit. What happened is that due to her special blood composition and the radiation of her blood, she gave opportunity to this earthbound soul to manifest his spookish activities. And with true knowledge of creation and its divine laws, a skillful doctor can help by changing the blood composition of this little girl, which automatically will alter the blood radiation, and that will make it impossible for this earthbound soul to gain connection in order to manifest his spurious activities. At this point, it will be very important to mention, if not because of the disease of the brain, which may hamper a soul from unfolding its full potentials and power towards the outside world. The only thing that can make a soul, can hinder a soul from realizing its potential and power towards the outside world is false radiation of blood, which is as a result of wrong composition of blood. And with right composition of blood, amazing things and miracle upon miracles will be happening in our lives. Finally, with right inner attitude and the conviction, one can never be possessed by an alien, evil and bodiless spirit. This is because if one is connected with the light, you stand as if in a cloak that cannot be penetrated, and upon which every attacking evil must injure itself. If this video resonates with you, please give it a thumb up, subscribe and share it to all nooks and crannies of this planet Earth, because this video contains some vital information that will help humanity, that will help possess human beings, that will help mentally backward children regain their freedom by changing their blood composition, which automatically will alter the blood radiation, thereby making it impossible for any alien spirit to possess anyone. And even those that have been possessed, this will make it impossible for them to continue possessing them and inflicting their nefarious and evil activities on them. And the earthbound soul will never have opportunity to make their spurious and spookish activities felt in an earthly manner. And for these mentally backward children, they will now have the full potential to unleash the full power of their soul, thereby living a normal life. Thank you for listening, and God bless.